So Lil Uzi Vert himself has finally released his follow-up record, his very ambitious, anticipated follow-up record, Pink Tape. Uh, the crazy thing about saying this sentence is that I remember exactly where I was when Eternal Take dropped, and the crazier thing about this sentence is that it was 3 years ago. Holy shit, I am old. I mean, like, it was back in 2020. It was, like, I think, March 2020. It was, I'm not entirely sure where. I think it was March, if I'm not mistaken. I remember that same day. It was a Friday. Earlier during the day, earlier in the morning, it didn't release for some reason. I think it was mixing issues or clearance issues, and they had to postpone it. And it got released. I think it was in the afternoon, and I just like listened to the entire record and stuff. And man, it was like a very like I don't know. I remember it being such a cool like memory because I was also extremely hyped for this record. I was I was and still am kind of a fan of Lil Uzi. He has a bunch of classics in disposal. Revolutionized a lot of the aesthetics and sounds that you hear in a lot of modern day trap and melodic hip hop and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know why. I just have like those very like vivid memories of listening to his music, especially in Eternal Take. And if you guys know, I did the review for Eternal Take exactly 3 years ago, and it was one of my favorite albums of 2020. I think it still is. I think it's aged pretty well. There's some elements that haven't aged perfectly, especially the mixing. It's kind of rough in some tracks. The hi-hats sound a bit buried in some songs, but overall, it's a very fun listen and it's very enjoyable. So again, like the 3 year gap between the Eternal Take and now Pink Tape, but I think he's done this prior in his albums before. It sounded like a tradition for him now. It's like he wants to take the time, he wants to take a break, I guess mentally speaking as well, and also to evolve artistically speaking. And I know he took his time a lot to try to do the best he could with the music because this album is 26 songs, if I'm not mistaken, in an hour and a half, or an hour and 27 minutes. Regardless, it's extremely long. It's obviously to supply the fans. It's always like, oh, apologies for being 3 years late to this. I know I delayed this album for over and over and over, but I want to make sure that we have enough content for, I would say, probably 5 more years or something. I know he said that he is planning to release a follow-up album to this album, not a deluxe edition. Not to be mistaken what he did with Eternal Take, and he released Love, Rage, or Love versus the World Part 2 as a double album deluxe edition, which is kind of cool. Um, but yeah, he's apparently dropping a separate album, and it's not gonna be part of a deluxe edition. So that'll be interesting to see, and that just kind of proves like, wow, this guy was sitting on a lot of material. But yeah, anyway, I want to get more into the record. Pink Tape, again, highly anticipated. Nobody knew it was gonna happen. I mean, Just Wanna Rock was like the lead single for this record, and it was really the viral single for this record. And I personally think as a song, it's very like incoherent. It's like a demo. It's only 2 minutes long, and it's very incoherent. It's like a demo. And I get it. It blew up in TikTok, and it was a huge dance trend going around. But as a song, there's no denying that it still feels incomplete. And I kind of hate that it just wasn't even completed on the album version. I mean, the album version is exactly the same as the single version, and I don't know. It still sounds like a damn demo. I mean, the song, the beat is cool, but it's like listening to it personally, I can probably withstand for like a minute and just skip it because like after the first 30 seconds or the first minute, you kind of listen to the entire track already. After all that intro stuff out of the way, so really diving into Pink Tape. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it mid? What is it? My personal opinion, I think it's a bit in the middle, and that's kind of crazy because for an album like this, it typically isn't like in the middle. It kind of reminds me of like Whole Lotta Red when that first dropped, and it dropped like it was Christmas, and Cardi was like, "This is my Christmas gift," and people were like saying like that shit is absolutely fucking trash. Don't release shit like that again. And now it's like looked upon as a classic and as a revolutionary record, which personally I have to agree with that. At first, I hated that record. I didn't like it. It sucked for me. But now it's one of my favorite records of this decade, and one of obviously Cardi's best records ever. The Pink Tape is getting the same treatment almost, but I don't think it's going to sort of like unfold itself to becoming like a timeless classic. If I'm being honest, it's not a bad record by any means, but it's like okay in the end. First track, flooded the face. It's like typical Uzi type of feeling that we get from 2016. I like these sort of combinations from the nostalgic Uzi with a bit more of a modern Uzi. But what makes this, I guess, song better is the follow-up song, which is Suicide Doors, produced by none other but Arca, the fucking goat. I love her. The beat is absolutely insane. You can tell the synth passages are like a Arca type beat. It's very industrial. It's kind of hypnotic. It's very like in your face. And what's very in your face is the damn 808 they use for here. The drums are absolutely blasting. It's like it feels like just like chaos is being released. Like the first seconds of this is like supposed to be like no, I want to say calm or serene because Uzi is screaming his lungs out, but it's like it's preparing you for a damn storm, and then the storm hits and it's like everything is just destroyed and there's collateral damage. This could have been one of the best first 3-track runs of the decade of 2020, but it's like the third track is just so mid to the point that it just ruins the fucking flow for a good while. I'm not gonna go cap. Like the Travis Scott feature is like so like unnecessary. It didn't really add anything in terms of like flavor or vibrance or anything to this track. It feels very unnecessary. And Uzi kind of seems a bit. I mean, I wouldn't say asleep, but it seems like he's on autopilot for the rest of this song. Biggest pushback that this record has is that it can be kind of boring at times, and obviously, it's almost an hour and 30 minutes long. Of course, it's gonna have some slow burner type of problems, but it's like I think it's boring willingly so, because it's like once you get more to like the final section of this record, it becomes boring and stale, and it's like he's trying to, I guess, please his older demographic and his older fans with the nostalgic sounds, but it kind of fails and it falls flat, and it's like I'm listening to the same song just copy pasted again and again and again, which I really did not like at all. I will say though, there is a song that's kind of repetitive, but I personally kind of excuse it that I like is Patience featuring Don Toliver. I think Don Toliver is the most. I think that Don Toliver is the best aspect of the song. It kind of like stole the whole thing from Uzi, and I wish Don had a longer verse. I wish Don had a longer verse in this track, because he only just says a hook like a few times, and that's the best thing with this song that has to offer. Why am I rating this so highly? It's because it's a nice like ephemeral type of aesthetic, and it kind of just makes you like feel like you're in a trance, you're like levitating mentally speaking. It kind of reminds me of Puffing on Zooties with Future, but obviously Puffing on Zooties is like 20 million times better than this song. Also, Uzi went very experimental on this record. I mean, obviously, I said that Suicide Doors was obviously insane. It's produced by Arca, and Arca is one of the most notable names and faces when it comes to the industrial music world. But he really went crazy in terms of the trap metal experimentation. It reminds me a lot of Playboi Carti. I'm sorry for bringing up his name again, but it reminds me of Playboi Carti when he went really punk on Hell Lotta Red, and was divisive and stuff like that. And a lot of people liked it, and a lot of people did like it, and it took time for it to grow. But he's doing the same thing here. I mean, not the exact same thing, but he's doing the same thing in terms of experimenting, using his voice in more screamish tones and going crazy on that end. Hopefully, he doesn't fuck up his throat. But yeah, I mean, he's going really crazy with his voice. He's trying to be more experimental with the, going very metal and stuff. There's a song here called Werewolf, which features Bring Me to the Horizon. Did I say it? I don't know if I said it correctly, but you know what I'm referring to. It sounds like a lot of people are comparing it as like if it was part of the Devil May Cry soundtrack or like the Metal Gear Revengeance soundtrack, which I honestly agree 100,000%. It sounds something like that. The chorus segment just sounds something straight out of like a fucking video game or the end credits of like a movie. It's honestly like the memes surrounding this are very hilarious. But the song itself, I think, is a great metal track. But the lack of, I mean, Uzi is obviously there. He's getting some mini verses or something like that. But it's like Bring Me the Horizon basically did all the heavy lifting. It's what makes the song and really enjoyable. It's not really Uzi, which is kind of disappointing. I think the most hilarious thing about this song is that the song before this one, CS, aka Chop Suey, which is a Chop Suey cover. A lot of people are saying it's hilariously bad. Personally, I don't find it to be terrible, unpopular opinion. But it's one of those songs that's like I'll just hear once or twice and probably never tune in again. I think it's cool because Uzi is showing his appreciation to the metal community, to his influences. System of a Down being, I guess, one of his major influences and inspiration to make this album, I guess, or to follow this type of sound and aesthetic that he's aiming to do on this record, which obviously I honestly give him praise for that. But it's like, it could have been like one of those YouTube type of music videos that it's like it's not gonna come in streaming services, and it's more like just like to mess around, like not put it in the record itself. That's what I'm trying to say. It's honestly an okay song. There are no okay cover. The original song is glorious. Everybody knows that. The Nicki Minaj feature in Endless Fashion is okay. It's nothing crazy, but it's like I don't know. I feel like these two have more chemistry than what they delivered on this track. If I'm not mistaken, they collaborated Love is Rage 2. Maybe I might be tripping, but I know they have collaborations before. Yeah, I don't think that they had collaborations before, and it was obviously came out more exciting than what this song ended up being. It's not a terrible song by any means, but if I'm not mistaken, it also has the interpolation of Blue, of the I'm Blue, it has the same melody, if I'm not mistaken, and it's annoying. It gets very annoying. And I hate hearing that interpolation. David Guetta and Baby Rexha kind of like ruined it for me, and I don't want to hear Blue for a good while. Okay, now I'm kind of trashing this album. I just want to give its merits. Obviously, it's not all bad. It's a very long and bloated record, but it's not completely terrible. Again, the first half of the first leg of this record is kind of like iffy. It's kind of like hit or miss. But the hits are very great. I didn't mention the first two songs. I will say Crush 'Em is very cool too. It has this like very distorted 808, and it reminds me of Stop Breathing. I think it was Crush 'Em or Amp that reminds me of Stop Breathing. It's very aggressive. It's very in your face, supposed to get you up, turn you up, and stuff like that. And combining the sounds of Uzi. I will say though, aside of Suicide Doors being extremely experimental, Fire Alarm is very very cool, and I like what he did with it. It reminded me a lot of that Uzi song from Eternal Take, You Gotta Move, You Gotta Move. Bonus tracks on this record are some of the most unnecessary add-ons I've heard like in music history, period. I mean, I know Uzi did this with I know Uzi did this with Eternal Take. Uzi added, if I'm mistaken, Footstool Shuffle, and that one cover of that one. Damn, it was a cover song where it sampled like a hit. Forgot the name of it, but you know what I'm trying to say. These three bonus tracks are absolutely boring and they're dreadful to listen to. They don't really add anything to this record, and I'm glad they're labeled as bonus songs. But still, I mean, this would have been cool if it was like a deluxe edition. But then again, he's not dropping a deluxe edition, so it's like, what the hell is the point? what is the point? It's long enough even without the bonus tracks. Going back to when I said the Nakamura stuff and sampling from an anime, Uzi has one of the most interesting outros I've heard this year so far, and it is the final song, well, technically the final song of this record, The End, featuring Baby Metal. I was not aware of I was kind of aware of who Baby Metal, what Baby Metal was. I mean, the Japanese, is it rock or metal? I think it's metal, duo or group, I suppose. But I did not think it would sound like this. Obviously, the first, 30 seconds of this is like absolutely like destruction, like metal and stuff. It transforms into like a damn anime opening. It kind of reminds like an anime opening. I hate categorizing Japanese artists as like it's anime music, because obviously it's not. There's a lot of Japanese music that's just not simply anime type, and it's kind of racist to just like kind of put them all in a group. But this is like the sound and aesthetics of this particular song is like, what's the best comparison I can give? It's like if in the best way I can sort of like describe this song is like, imagine if Lisa didn't do the OP for SAO and they gave it to Baby Metal to sort of do the opening for SAO. That's what it sounds like for me. It's like it's just like that, it's weird, but then again, Uzi has a lot of connections with a lot of Japanese artists, and he's a huge fan of the J-rock and J-pop scene, so props to him for that. And I understand the attempt. Again, I mean, the outro is very weird. It's not a terrible outro, but it's like so like weird and out of place of like an album that it's like completely like, fuck you and this and that and this, and I'm gonna get depressed and this and that. It feels out of place what I'm trying to get at. Typically in my reviews, I would like almost list all these songs and sort of like talk about it in more emphasis. But again, it's 26 songs, and a lot of these songs don't have that many interesting topics to like talk about, discuss about. just I guess wrap it up because I don't want to make this review extremely long at all. I want to make this thing short and concise enough for you to obviously digest this. Is this album worth listening to? Yeah, it personally kind of is, but it's more of like the second time you're gonna be listening to this record. If you want to listen to it the second time, you're most likely just gonna have like listen to the songs you added to your own personal playlist, because albums like these that are like extremely bloated and long are basically records that it's like, you know what, these are songs that I like. I'm gonna put this in my playlist or my like songs playlist, and the rest of it is going straight to the garbage can. I don't want to listen to this again. That's what it feels like. It's like you're giving me songs, you're giving me an album that has some great songs, but it's so inconsistent to the point that it's like I can easily put most of this album away, and nothing would happen. Nothing would really affect this record. I will say though, for an album that has a lot of clipping, I mean, it's not like annoying clipping, but obviously you can tell that the thresholds are being absolutely molested in this record, and there's a lot of 808s, there's a lot of kicks, there's a lot of bouncy stuff going in here that it's like obviously just like blow up your speakers with. It sounds pretty nice. The mixing sounds very nice. The synths have a very nice stereo thing going on. The 808s as well. Nothing seems out of place in terms of production. And yeah, honestly, even the metal parts sound great in this record. What would I give this record? I'm thinking more of like a light 6 out of 10 on this album. Wait, did you guys listen to this record? Did you guys hate this record? Did you guys love this record? Let me know in the comments down below. Tell me what y'all were rated. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the notification bell on so you don't miss an upload for me. Yeah, everybody, stay safe from COVID. I know the whole COVID thing is kind of over in a way. Still stay safe from me to stay safe from some sort of future virus that hopefully does not happen. Peace out, everybody.